Today's episode is brought to you by me finally figuring out how to crop and combine clips outside of YouTube's video editor, which is something most people figured out in like 2008. But yeah, here we are. Today's blaster is one that is often overlooked because it's trash. There's no other way to put it, there's no sugarcoating it, it's garbage. But I like it because I'm weird and I enjoy unique design elements, and this blaster has two unique design elements that are not found, as far as I know, in any other Nerf blaster, period. This is the Stormtrooper blaster from Star Wars Rebels line. I think it's just called the Star Wars Rebels Stormtrooper blaster. So this thing has a unique barrel and it has a unique grip. First, we'll start with the barrel. This barrel is a breech loader and it's removable. This is a front-loading blaster, and as far as I know, the only front loader with a barrel attachment point, and as such has the only barrel that can accommodate that. So you can actually drop the dart straight in through the top instead of having to ramrod it in. Now, why would this be useful? It wouldn't. It's really not for most applications. But if you like brass fire strikes and night finders and that sort of thing, normally you have a CPVC sleeve over some brass and you slide it open, you pop the dart in, you slide it shut. This acts as a sleeve over that whole assembly and makes it a little more aesthetically pleasing and avoids having exposed brass and stuff everywhere. So this could actually be useful to modders who want something of that nature. For me, I like it because I like the idea of very compact pistols with barrels on them. So I could take something like a reflex and I could put a barrel attachment point on it and stick this on, and without using a ramrod, I could actually load and fire that reflex. Now, is that useful at all? No, it's really not. But I love them, and I'm just going to use what I enjoy. So this is particularly interesting to me. Now, this grip looks like every other grip used in pretty much every other Stormtrooper blaster. The original firearms on which these were based had a grip that could swing out, become a stock, and then fold in place, and you'll see a lot of those aesthetic cues on these Star Wars blasters to where they have these hinges where it clearly looks like they should swing out and turn into stocks, but they're just locked in place. They're just one solid mold. Sometimes they're even separate pieces, but they're just locked in place and they don't move, and that always frustrated me until I found this one, and I realized this one actually does that. It's the only one I know of that does that. Does it do it well? No. This blaster doesn't do anything well, but it does it. So I think maybe at some point this thing actually held firmly because it has these little locking pegs, and if I put pressure on it, it works. So I don't know if it was just an issue with design tolerances or whatever, or if it's just the ravages of time and this thing has gotten old, but it doesn't lock in place very well. By not locking in place, it creates this issue where you can't really hold this steady. You have to actually apply upward pressure on it to do that. And when you're trying to prime the bolt sits above the axle, and so it kind of pushes it down, and this thing really just kind of gives at about that point. So what it's doing is it's accidentally emulating Stormtrooper accuracy. So as you try to actually aim and fire this thing, not that you could rapid fire it, but if you could, you'd end up doing this, and you'd be missing everything just like a real Stormtrooper. So this accidentally does its job. Now, it does something else. It's not meant to do it, but it's an interesting idea. Normally, it just locks into place as a low-profile shotgun grip or works as a stock. But if you just leave it open like this, it comes to rest, and the lip of this stock kind of puts a little bit of pressure on this little ring around the barrel, and it almost works as a vertical foregrip. Now, it doesn't actually lock in place anywhere, but it could. And you'd have a nice little vertical grip that could also double as a low-profile shotgun grip, and possibly even an angled foregrip if it had a locking position up here. And I think that has a lot of potential as a custom 3D printed stock attachment. So you got the stock attachment point, and it would have the hinge on here, and the stock itself would be measured so that this section here, I don't know what they're actually called, I'm going to call it the horseshoe. The horseshoe section goes around the grip for whatever you want, like a strife or a retaliator or whatever, and this section is aligned to line up with the bottom rail on the blaster, which would work particularly well for a strife because it's got a built-in rail, and the bottom rail would have another 3D printed piece that has multiple connection points. One for the low profile shotgun grip, one for the vertical foregrip, and then one for the angled foregrip. And that would give you a foldable compact stock that also works as all three different front grip types. So I think that would be a cool little 3D project to pursue at some point. A few other details that are of no use to anybody but interesting to me. This blaster has two full sets of iron sights that are mostly unusable because of the design. It's got these rear irons which are supposed to line up with this front iron, but can't because the scope is unremovable. However, this is a real scope. It has a pinhole back here, no rear crosshair, but it does have a front crosshair, and so that front crosshair can line up with not only this iron, but these two up here as well. So it's actually got an excess of usable sights, which I think is preferable to not having enough usable sights like most Nerf blasters do. The other thing about this is that this is a very versatile stock. Not only does it function as a stock, it functions as a very handy chin scratcher and as a cheek rest. So if you partied too hard last night, but the rebels are attacking in the morning and you want to look like you're ready for battle, you can just sort of take a quick nap until the fighting starts and then be ready to go. I think that's pretty much all there is to say about this. I can't really think of a way to end the video. Sometimes you think of a clever way to sign off, and sometimes you just